Hey there and welcome. Today, we're diving into something that's literally all around us, whether we see it or not: biodiversity. It's this incredible, sprawling web of life on Earth, and honestly, understanding it is a huge part of understanding our own world.
So let me kick things off with a question for you. What in the world connects a tiny, vibrant frog deep in the rainforest to the actual food that's sitting on your dinner plate? It sounds a little strange, right? But the answer, believe it or not, is biodiversity, and we're about to figure out exactly how.
All right, so first things first, we're going to get to the heart of this web of life. What is biodiversity, really? Because I promise you, it is so much more than just a big list of different animals.
At its most basic level, biodiversity is the grand total of all the different life forms that have figured out how to survive and thrive here on Earth. And the scale is just massive. We're talking about everything from the tiniest invisible gene all the way up to huge, sprawling ecosystems like entire oceans.
You know, you can actually break this giant idea down into three main levels, which makes it a lot easier to grasp. First up, you've got genetic diversity. A perfect example? Dogs. They're all one species, but the crazy variety in their genes gives us everything from a tiny Chihuahua to a massive Great Dane. Then there's species diversity. This is the one we usually think of: the sheer number of different species out there, like lions and eagles and sharks. And finally, you have ecosystem diversity, which is the variety of whole biological communities. We're talking forests, deserts, coral reefs, you name it.
So here's the big question. Why does any of this matter to you and me? Well, let's circle back to that frog in your dinner plate. Biodiversity is the absolute foundation of our food and agriculture. It gives us new medicines, raw materials for industry, and this is a big one: it provides ecosystem stability. That's the stuff we take for granted, like clean air and fresh water. It's the engine for pretty much everything.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why down. Now let's make this real. We're going to zoom right in on a specific part of the world, the beautiful Caribbean, to see how these ecosystems really work together.
And this just shows you how beautifully interconnected it all is. Just look at this. You have the mangroves, which act as a natural filter and a safe nursery for something like 2,000 different species. Then right nearby, you've got the seagrass beds, holding the seafloor together and providing the main food source for animals like sea turtles and manatees. And just beyond that, you have the magnificent coral reefs, protecting the coast from erosion and providing a home for countless other plants and animals. They're not separate little worlds. They're one giant cooperative system.
But here's the thing. What happens when that beautiful, interconnected web of life starts to fray? This brings us to a much more serious part of our story: what it means for life to be under threat, and what happens when that web actually starts to break.
So, you've probably heard the term threatened species before, and this isn't just some casual phrase. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, or the IUCN, has a very specific scientific definition for it. It's any living thing, animal, plant, whatever, that is vulnerable to going extinct in the near future.
And this threat isn't just a single category. It's a sliding scale that gets progressively worse. A species can be listed as vulnerable, like the polar bear, which means it's on a path to becoming endangered. Then there's endangered, where a species like the blue whale is facing a very high risk of disappearing. And at the top of that list is critically endangered. This is the last stop before extinction, where you find animals like the Jamaican iguana, which is facing an extremely high risk of being wiped out right now.
Because the end of that road is extinction, the complete, total, irreversible disappearance of a species from our planet. Forever. And this isn't some far-off idea. In Jamaica alone, species like the giant yellow gollywasp are already gone for good. That thread in the web has already been snapped.
So what is causing all of this? I mean, what's driving this crisis? While it's true some species are naturally more vulnerable than others, the crisis we're seeing today is overwhelmingly driven by us. So let's take a hard look at the human footprint and how our actions are tearing at that web of life. Okay, and I really want this to sink in for a second. The single greatest threat that most wild species face is habitat destruction. Plain and simple. This means everything from cutting down forests for farms, to polluting rivers, to developing coastlines. We are quite literally taking away the homes that these species need to survive.
And the numbers, well, they speak for themselves. A massive 60% of the human-caused threat comes from that habitat destruction. The other two big pieces of the pie are something called biotic pollution, which we'll get into, and of course hunting.
So what exactly are those other two? Well, biotic pollution sounds complicated, but it's really about introducing foreign or invasive species where they don't belong.
Imagine a new predator showing up that the local animals have no defense against. It can be devastating. And hunting, when it's not managed sustainably for food, sport, or profit, can easily push already fragile populations right over the brink.
Okay, that was the heavy stuff, the problem. And it is a huge problem. But it is not a hopeless one. And that brings us to our final section, the science of conservation and how people are working right now to mend that web of life.
There is an entire field of science dedicated to tackling this challenge. It's called conservation biology, and its goals are super clear. First, figure out the exact impact we're having on biodiversity, and second, develop practical, hands-on ways to keep species from going extinct.
And conservation scientists really have two main strategies in their toolkit. First, there's what's called in situ, or on-site conservation. This is all about protecting species right where they live, in their natural homes. Think creating national parks or marine reserves. This is by far the best long-term strategy. But sometimes a species is in so much trouble that that's not enough. That's when ex situ, or off-site conservation comes in. This is when we protect species in places like zoos or special breeding centers, with the ultimate goal of hopefully one day returning them to a safe and healthy home in the wild.
So, from the different levels of life to the very real threats it faces, and all the way to the science of how we can save it, we've really traced the whole story of biodiversity. And it leaves us with this one final thought. The story of life on Earth is this epic, incredible book that's still being written. We are living through and writing a critical chapter right now. And the big question is, what will our chapter say?